As we sit here, the day before Thanksgiving, November 27th, 2024, the Dodgers have dodgered again. Blake Snell, Los Angeles Dodgers, 4 years, $182 million. Lock it in. Here we go on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane. And you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth, personalized experience, giving you text messaging alerts right to your phone. And this time of year, we have our 2025 rankings coming out very, very soon, including some sleepers, breakouts, bust, and so much more than we can offer in this 30-minute podcast. And if you are interested in joining us on Subtext, the link is in the bio wherever you're listening or watching, or available on any of our social media platforms. And guess what? You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. And Matt, I mean, the odds of us planning to do our starting pitcher way too early rankings and Blake Snell signing as where the day we're recording is absolutely miraculous. It's just honestly mind blowing. Actually, and I would need to correct myself. It's $182 million, but it's for 5 years, not 4 years. I just think Blake Snell is going to be near the top of starting pitching rankings. And Matt, why don't you take it away from me, brother? I'm a little bent out of shape about this one.
Yeah, the evil empire strikes again. I hate the Dodgers. I love them, but I hate them. And because I hate them, it's because they Yankee better than the Yankees do.
Yeah.
And that's why I hate it. The rotation is absolutely monstrous. And the scary part is, they had guys here that they just won't be back, and that also would have been phenomenal key parts of this. It all shows signs that Walker Buehler isn't coming back, Jack Flaherty isn't coming back.
Yeah.
Those two are definitely gone. To be honest, it might even kill Pepio not Pepio. What the hell's his name? River Ryan making the rotation this year, which really hurts me. It's just unfortunate. I wonder if they moved him. But let's talk fantasy, not just real baseball implications. Let's talk about, where I have him ranked. I have Blake Snell ranked, let's see here. I believe 9 now. He was sitting at like 20 because I wasn't sure he was going to land. I wasn't sure if we're going to have the same debauchery as we had going into the season where, he didn't sign until 2 weeks into the season and then played 2 weeks later after he signed. Thank God he signed early. I can feel a little bit more confident drafting him in my top 10. Blake Snell, we all know who he is. We all know what he can do. He's usually a second half pitcher, but, maybe with the Dodgers pitching coaches and, having those names around him and kind of just getting him in the mood of, hey, there's a chance you're going to win a World Series here. Maybe he'll put his head down, do the hard work from start to finish and, be awesome. So right out the gate, you're going to bank on that. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit on the slower start, but at least the fact that you're going to have all the strikeouts you want. It's like, as much turkey as you want tomorrow or today, better yet. So happy Thanksgiving. It's going to be great no matter what. He's definitely worth like your number 9 SP.
I love me some Blake Snell. And Matt knows we've been Blake Snell guys for a long time. I had him on like all my fantasy teams the year he won the Cy Young back in 2018. And the thing is, this goes one of two ways. It goes. I'm hoping it goes the way that Matt says. He's just going to put his head down, beat the Dodgers, and just follow the regimen and do the hard work and just be a great starting pitcher. Or I kind of see it going the way of like Matt Harvey. like if you've been around a while, you get the reference that, you know, when he really started getting his thing in the limelight, they literally had like they put up the Matt Harvey bat signal in the city when he pitched, and it just got a hold of him. He started dating the models. He was going out drinking. You saw him on the mound in the 4th inning. The guy, you know, was sweating his brains out. He couldn't do it anymore. And I just hope Blake Snell doesn't do that. Being in LA, you know, he likes the limelight. He's not afraid of it. And I just hope he shines. Let's talk about the numbers from last year for Snell at age 31 with the Giants last year. He made 20 starts. He did deal with a couple of injuries. He had a 3.12 ERA, 104 innings pitched, 145 strikeouts, and a 104 whip. The thing is, Blake Snell's always been a bad whip guy. Last 2 years, as I mentioned, last year in 2024, 104 whip. In 2023, it was a 118 whip for Snell. You know, comparative to his career 121 whip. But he's a career 3.19 ERA guy, well over a K per nine, or with almost 1,100 innings pitched and about 1,400 strikeouts. So monstrous strikeout totals for Snell every single year. I have him as my SP6. I do really like him, but it's a risky pick. I just will preface that. You could take him, but it's a little bit of a riskier pick. But I do like him. You know, there's like, I'd say a 80% chance that he's going to deliver as an SP1. Matt, this is such a controversial name, but let's do it. Let's have a little fun. Let's talk Paul Skenes, right? The kid, he's that guy. You know, I don't know another term that we can use other than he's legit. Paul Skenes is everything that you believe him to be and more. He's 6'6". He's 235. A mountain of a man. He was 22 years old this last season. He had 23 starts, a 1.96 ERA, 133 innings pitched, 170 strikeouts, and an 0.94 whip. The FIP was a 2.45. All the underlying stuff looks great. A lot of people are ranking him as their SP1. I'm not there with it yet. I have him as my SP3. But if you want to take him as the first starting pitcher off the board, I'm not really going to kill you. It's just that, you know, you never really see a rookie starting pitcher do this. So it's almost unprecedented territory. And he's going to be really good. He's going to be really good. I'm going to leave it at that with Paul Skenes.
Yeah. Like Paul Skenes, I have him as 4. So like, I mean, we're splitting hairs.
We're right there. We're right there.
It's not like we're saying he's going to be bad. I think he's honestly going to be the best pitcher. He's going to be more than a generational talent. He's going to be one of the best pitchers ever pitched in baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just a matter of when, not a matter of, you know, is it this year? I don't think so. I think he'll finish he has the ability to finish as SP1, but I don't think it's this year. I think that the workload is going to be the real indicative of what he's going to do. His career high is 122 in college. And then he comes out and does, you know, pretty much between minors and bigs, 160 innings. You know, that's a lot. And to do it 2 years in a row for a guy that really hasn't really pitched more than that, I want to say that's probably where they're going to limit him again. And that kind of limits his upside, right? Like, yeah, he'll have 200 Ks in 150 innings, which will be bonkers, but you're going to miss out on that end of the season, end of season magic, or you're never going to have two start weeks. And that's what's going to hurt his value. So for me, that's why he's just down just a little bit. I'm splitting hairs. So that's really the justification of why he's not 1. But, you know, I think a full season, like 2026, 200 and change innings, 75,000 strikeouts, an ERA of -15.
Video game numbers for the kid.
It like breaks the video game. Like he's just ridiculous. Like, you know, by no amount am I indicting the talent. I think the kid's absolutely incredible. Like I said, as long as this kid has a healthy career, probably
sky's the limit.
Top 5 in baseball history. I'm giving it to him now. But yeah, coming up next, we're going to talk about the pterodactyl and start breaking down, you know, who's 1, who's 2, and start, you know, saying, okay, where are we planting our flag at, who we're picking, you know, SP1 overall. Coming up next. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook gives you everything you need to place your bets and on NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never miss a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And we got to make that $5 count, right? Because it's the only way you're getting that $150. Bet against those Giants. Bet against them Gents. And also bet against them Las Vegas Raiders that are also atrocious. And also bet against the money line on Jacksonville. Their schedule end of the season is atrocious. All these bets are going to be locked and loaded going into the end of the season. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right. Introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. This offseason, get our redraft rankings, dynasty rankings, prospect rankings, sleepers, breakouts, busts, values, bounce back players, so much more than what we offer on this 30-minute podcast, because you probably get about 5 apiece on each of those little topics that we give, from sleepers, breakout, busts, and bounce back players. When Dom and I probably go about 20 to 30 deep each. We have guys that we're targeting in all different rounds and all different possibilities and having them, highlighted in all these different ways. Plus, we usually tier base our rankings. So that usually starts happening. The tiers probably in the new year. So you want to get in now so you can see our rankings not only develop, but also follow the trend of who is hot and who is not. So check us out. Links in the description below. You get a free 2 weeks. But all right, let's get back into it. And this is more of, I just want to hype this up. We're talking about probably Dominic's #1 consensus SP1, the pterodactyl. Sorry, I was a little delayed. But Tarik Skubal. I just wanted to hype it up because I wanted to do the drop. But Dom, this is your boy. This is the guy that literally you probably get on your knees for. So take it away.
I appreciate you passing them over to me, and I'm just gonna say that I was really big on Skubal going into last year. I had him ranked as my SP11. He was coming off the board according to ADP last year as SP12. So I was just basically reiterating that we could take him as an SP1 and he'll deliver. I'm going to cover Skubal's last 3 seasons because that's when he made the change, changed his grip on a few of his pitches, just basically reworked a lot of his mechanics and figured it out, right? So over the last 3 seasons, Skubal has made 67 starts for those Detroit Tigers, has a 2.82 ERA, 390 innings pitched, 447 strikeouts, an 0.98 whip, and a 2.53 FIP. So, I mean, it doesn't really get much better. He has a great pitch mix. If you go and look at his Baseball Savant, he literally is red in every single category. And if you're not familiar with Baseball Savant, it's really good for underlying statistics if you want to really deep dive players. And they have a little chart on there. Red is good, blue is bad. A lot of red for Skubal. He's 6'3", 240, 28 years old, right in the prime of his career where, you want somebody, starting pitcher to be. And guess what? He throws about, 4 pitches at least 14% of the time. And the best batting average against of any of those pitches is a 216 batting average against his changeup. Everything else, his fastball is most used pitch. He throws it 33% of the time, sits around 97. Batters hit 197 against it. Just not much more you can ask for. He's proved himself, plays for a team that's on the uprise. A great park to pitch in, has the stuff, has proved himself, and he's on his way. Have him as Tarik Skubal, the pterodactyl, as my #1 SP going into 2025.
Yeah, it's not. It's weird. So I didn't really feel comfortable putting him at #1, but then I had to go and take a step back, look at the stats, look at the underlying stats, and you go, yeah, he could have it. And yeah, he was just that incredible last year. And yeah, I was completely wrong about him last year. You're part of this is admitting when you're wrong, and I was wrong. Tarik Skubal is absolutely worth it. On top of that, I love the park he pitches in, and quite honestly, this is just, pretty much just perfect match. I think he's going to be a top 5 pitcher for the next couple of years. So Tarik Skubal is awesome. The next one here, Zack Wheeler, our next guy here. He's just been consistent. That's the only reason he's my #2. Other than that, I don't feel great about it. He's a little bit on the older side. But he's just been so consistent over the last couple of years at age 34 that you can't deny him this. Nearly 200 innings pitched almost every year since 2021, all but one, and I'll round up on 2023. Has had every season he's had, minus 2021, 200 plus innings. ERA is always phenomenal. 278, 282, 361, 257. So 3 out of the last 4 years, a sub 3 ERA. Whip is always pretty darn solid. Everything he does is good, and then the win potential, because he's on the Phillies, is just higher end than everybody else. He is Mr. Reliable, and that is why he's there for me. There's no other reason. He's just going to go out there, be elite. Even his bad innings, even his bad games are better than most. Zack Wheeler is worth the number 2 overall SP pitcher.
Yeah, man, I'm not really going to add too much because you did a great job of breaking down Wheeler. I'm just going to say, yeah, he's been aging like fine wine. We don't expect it to go on for too much longer, but you know what? We saw Chris Sale do it this year at an older age. Wheeler's going to be 35 in 2025. I don't know if I'm expecting another 200 inning season, but even if he throws 175, gives you 200 strikeouts, a sub 3 ERA, a strong whip. Literally, Zack Wheeler had the best whip of his career last season at an 0.95. So I think he deserves it. If you want to take Skenes over Wheeler, am I going to argue with you? Absolutely not. If you want the upside, of course. If you want a little bit more security with your first starting pitcher, I think you take Zack Wheeler. I think the downside is like maybe a mid-3s ERA with like a 108 whip and still a lot of strikeouts and a good amount of wins. So, like I said, there's a floor. There's a floor there with Wheeler. Let's move on. A lot of fun names here. Matt, I'm gonna save you a couple of your boys, and I think I'll take one of mine. Let's do Cole Ragans. We were talking about it. And Matt, I'm going to make the change live on the podcast. I'm going to move him up one spot. I'm switching him with Chris Sale. I'm moving Cole Ragans up to 7, and I'm moving Chris Sale down to 8. And it's another, I think it's a bit of an upside play with Ragans here, right? He went over to Kansas City back in 2023, and, they said, hey, listen, we see a couple things that we think he could change and be absolutely dominant. He made those changes and was absolutely dominant. He's, going to be 27 this upcoming season, and, he pitched 186 innings last year, looked pretty good throughout them. He had why is my computer don't work me? He had a 3.14 ERA, 32 starts, as I said, 186 innings pitched, 223 strikeouts, and a 114 whip. So, pretty strong, solid pitcher. Like I said, I moved him up to 8. I think he has upside. I think the ERA, could potentially, be a little bit better if you look at some of the underlying stuff. It really likes what, Ragans was able to do. I think he can get it down to like a low 3s, high 2s ERA. Has a good pitch mix. He throws his four-seam fastball about 41% of the time. Batters hit 213 against it. He sits around 96. His changeup is strong too. Batters hit under 200 against that. Slider's really good. Got one of those big wipeout sliders. Batters hit 210 against that last year. He throws that one about 12% of the time. So I really like what Ragans brings to the table. I think Kansas City believes in him, and I think that Royals team's going to be a lot better this season. They were pretty good last year. He did win 11 games. Has the upside of 15, 16 wins too. So I think Cole Ragans is a pretty safe bet as an SP1, but probably a little bit of a lower end SP1.
Yeah, I mean, when we say lower, he's 7 for me. I mean, Ragans is just a beast. He's another one that I think has a safe floor and is somebody that's just going to be reliable. He's proven it. The second he went to the Royals, he was efficient. Came back year 2 on the Royals and then just said, yo, guys, I got this. Hold my beer. And that's what he did. Ragans is absolutely incredible. And I trust him to be an SP1. There was a reason he was my SP17 going into the season. You just need to see it before you anointed him into the top 10. Mm-hmm. He's 7 for me now. Nothing can change my mind at this point except an injury. And, knock on wood, hopefully that don't happen. Coming up next, we're going to be covering, pitchers, a name that we all wouldn't be surprised if he's in the top 10, and a couple other names of what to do with them coming up next. If I can find the button. There it is. All right. We are talking about Mr. Logan Gilbert.
Called it too. I just want to let the fans know this is how in sync we are, that as we were doing that little break right there, that I typed in Logan Gilbert because I knew that's where Matt was going.
Yeah. Dom knows. He also said he was saving him for me. That's who he was talking about.
Of course.
I was actually looking for a drop for him. I was looking for the Dilly Dilly from Budweiser because I call him Gilly. Gilly
Yes.
Gilly. But unfortunately, I can't. If any of the fans out there can get me an audio clip about 5 seconds so I don't break copyrights, and send it over to the fantasymds@gmail.com, I would greatly appreciate it. You'll get a massive shout out. Anyway, let's talk about him. Logan Gilbert absolutely impressed me last year. I always knew he was good. Number one pitching prospect in baseball at the time. He's my number 6 pitcher overall. Comes in, fourth season now,
Fourth.
which is crazy. 27 years old and just has a monster of a season. 208 innings pitched, 220 strikeouts, a 3.23 ERA with a whip of .88. Like, how you doing, bro? Awesome stats. Kid looks absolutely monstrous. You go and you look at his baseball savant page, look at all the underlying stats. Everything is fantastic except for the average exit velocity, which, you know what, quite honestly,
It's
I'm
a
not
big
even mad
ballpark.
at it. It is. He has the protection of that. Quite honestly, he has a good defense behind him as well. He literally is going to be just fine. I have a feeling he's going to figure out a way to suppress the hard contact, and that will also lead to lower average exit velocity, and we shall be fine. I trust this kid wholeheartedly. He is, the everything we wanted George Kirby to be and more. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Yes.
Logan Gilbert's going to be fantastic, and he has a really great pitch mix too: slider, four-seam fastball, splitter, curve, cutter, sinker, and throws things, pretty consistently. Slider and four-seam he leans on pretty heavy, about like 32 and 30%. Then, mixes in the splitter and curve and cutter about 13, 12, and 10% of the time, which is great because that's going to get you the put away. When they're not expecting the pitch, all they're seeing is the slider and four seamer, and he puts them away with those. And his put aways are awesome with it: 24% on that split finger, 25% on the curveball, and the cutter 28%. So the pitch mix is actually really well rounded, and he manages it very well, which makes him a very successful pitcher. And why I think the strikeout upside is always going to be there, and he definitely can go eat some innings. Logan Gilbert's a locked and loaded, top 10 SP.
Yeah, Matt, I have Gilbert at 5, and you said what I wanted to say so bad. He's exactly what we wanted George Kirby to be. Everyone had Kirby inside the top 10. I saw Kirby even as high as 5 in some people's rankings. I had him up there too. Don't get me. I didn't have him up at 5. I had him, I think like top 12, maybe 15. But, Gilbert, had the breakout. We expected this from Gilbert in 2023 after the really strong 2022. But you know what? It took an extra year. We're not mad at it. Matt, you broke Gilbert down really well. I'm not really going to add too much else. I love him. Take him as an SP1. And I think he's a very safe SP1 with a lot of upside as well. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit of Corbin Burnes. Corbin Burnes, it's very interesting. Definitely, going to see what happens with him here. He is a free agent this season too. So let's see where Corbin Burnes lands. That's going to be super interesting. I have a feeling I would love to see him as a Yankee fan. I'd love to see him there, but I really hope Baltimore takes him back. I think he had a strong bounce back season in Baltimore, 32 starts, a 2.92 ERA, 15 wins, 194 innings. I don't think Corbin Burnes is ever going to be the monstrous strikeout guy he used to be, but I think he can get back to at least around a K per 9 because he started to get back there towards the end of the season. A 109 whip for Burnes. Like I said, there's not super potential for upside as he's going into his age 30 season. He's getting a little bit older, towards the back end here. And I don't think he's going to be one of those guys like the Sales and then that's pitches to like 35 and still dominant. I think Burnes is going to start to fall off. But I do have him ranked right ahead of Gilbert at 4. I think we can count on him for at least this one more season. But I think the landing spot is going to be real dependent because I have Burnes ranked as if he's going to either go back to Baltimore, go to a contender, Yankees, something like that. If he doesn't, I could see him falling down my rankings at least a little bit. But I still think he's a very safe floor SP1. Don't count on him for monster strikeouts. I don't think that's going to happen anymore from Corbin Burnes.
I don't know. I think he's got it in him. And here's my thing, right? 2022, he relied really heavily on that cutter. He threw it about 55% of the time. Then 2023, his off year, right? He tried to mix up his pitch mix a little bit and add a little bit more to the repertoire. He threw his cutter about 45% of the time, and we saw a downward turn. Then we see him bounce back, and he did it a little bit better. In 2024, he brought the cutter down to 45%, brought the curve up to 22%, the slider to 13%, and the change up to 11%. I think it was the tinker year. And I think we're going to start seeing him. I think he understood that he couldn't just live off of just throwing his really good pitch and relying on just that. And he had to mix it up and kind of get it so he didn't get figured out by the league. I won't be surprised if we do see that upside. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think it's in there. And I don't think he's done. I don't think it's one of those things where we're going to see it go away. Nothing outside of K's and extension are scream, hey, he's having a really bad career or a bad season. Fastball velocity still sitting at 97 miles an hour, not giving up hard contact. His average exit velocity is 87.5. He's getting guys to chase at a really great rate at 33% of the time, getting the whiff at 28% of the time. And, not really walking guys and not allowing barreling. Like, this is all great. And he's also producing, ground balls. Everything you want out of a pitcher to be successful. So, and then I start seeing he's mixing up his pitch mix to boot. And he's been working on it on 2 years in a trend where he had, not such great success up to expectation, essentially, then starts moving in the right direction the next year. What does that tell you? Third year, going into the census and buying into the new form and the new way to, extend his career. I think Corbin Burnes is going to actually have a really nice season. I actually have him ranked pretty high as well. I have him ranked as my number 3 SP overall. I'm all about it. I don't think there's a realm and a possibility, a realm where he's not successful. K9 is well in the realm of possibility, along with, I think, possibly back to the strikeout king. Do not sleep on that. I hope I got you to raise him after that little take.
I have him at 4, so I mean I can't really go too much higher on him. Yeah, if you want to take him over Wheeler, I'm not mad at you for that. And there is, he, as you said, all the underlying stuff looks great. I think he's going to be an awesome SP1. Like I said, I don't ever think we're going to see the 200 innings, 248 strikeouts like we saw 3 seasons ago. I think even if he pitches 190 innings, maybe we see 200 strikeouts. But I'm not counting on like a monster total. I'll just say this: if you take him, maybe you want to grab like Freddie Peralta as your SP2 or somebody that is going to give you a bunch of strikeouts.
Don't be surprised if I'm right.
I have Corbin Burnes. I'm keeping him in like a lot of leagues I'm in with you. So if he does, I'm going to be super happy.
I know. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Mr. Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Man, that's a mouthful, but he's just incredible pitcher. Comes in, after dealing with a little bit of injury in the beginning of the season, really kind of rocked in and came locked and loaded for the rest of the season. Pitched about 90 innings, 105 strikeouts. A 3 ERA on the dime with a whip of 1.11. Honestly, I'm very impressed, truly. He just looked absolutely amazing out on that mound. Obviously a little bit of adjustment it took to get to the MLB talent versus, pitching in Japan. But he really did take over and just say, hey, look, I'm going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's only 26 years old. There's a lot to highlight. Like, his xERA was a 3.44. Obviously, half a run worse than what his ERA posted, but I think that's still going to be fine. And the 3 ERA is good because you looked at the FIP, and the FIP was about sub 3. Then his fastball velocity was sitting at 95.5 miles an hour. Got to love that. Didn't give up hard contact. Would like to see a little bit lower, but he's still doing it at a good rip, 88.4 miles an hour. Got guys to chase 31.7% of the time. Created the whiff about 27% of the time. Shot guys 28.5% of the time. Didn't walk guys, but this is the key stuff. He allowed guys to barrel and created and allowed hard contact. He allowed hard contact 41.3% of the time. That is the one thing we got to watch out for. But I think year 2, make the adjustments. Look at the mind sitting in the dugout with him, and I think that he's going to make those adjustments. A 26-year-old doing this kind of stuff gets you really excited for it, and that's why I moved him up today, actually, and I got him sitting at number 5, SP5 for me.
It's frisky.
Yamamoto. It's not even frisky. I mean, think about it. The kid was coming in the MLB last year, and it was drafted him as SP12. What's so frisky about it? He proved that he can handle the league, and now age 27, he's not going to be able to take a step forward. Yeah, I'm all about that.
No, I have him ranked at 10. We're not crazy far off. I think the shoulder injury is just a little bit scary. It kept him out for, a while, last year, as he only, you mentioned he didn't make too many starts. He looks great. I think he's going to be very, very solid. I can't put him over a couple of dudes like the Burneses and, the Gilberts and the guys that I just really feel like I know what I'm going to get from them. And then, it's like the Dodgers do have options. So, it's like if they say, hey, listen, he is a little bit banged up and something still bothers him. It's like, hey, you could sit out a little bit, especially with the big Blake Snell signing. But yeah, when he's out there, he's going to be dominant. Matt read off the stats, everything looks really, really good. And, there is even room for growth. I think he is a guy that could have a sub-3 ERA with, a bunch of strikeouts and a good whip as well. So that's why I do have him ranked as 10 and an SP1. But guys, with that being said, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after you make us your first listen, go over and check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB and give him your second listen each and every day. But guys, until next time, see ya.